What do you think of the China-Caribbean relationship and the huge investments China is making in the Caribbean, which will lead to huge China influence in the region? As the world's second largest economy by nominal GDP, totaling around $18.32 trillion the past year, and the world's largest economy since 2016 when measured by PPP, purchasing Power Parity, China is a country that witnessed very rapid economic growth in the past decades. The two main factors explaining such are its rapid productivity growth and large-scale economic investment, financed by substantial domestic savings and foreign investments too. In 2022, China accounted for 18.6% of the global economy in terms of PPP. According to IMF, the International Monetary Fund, China is already the world's largest economy, over 20% larger than the United States economy, which used to be considered the top one globally. Nowadays, China has foreign investments basically in every continent. Its economic superpower is unparalleled and constantly growing. In the past years, especially in the 2005 to 2022 period, China has invested billions of US dollars in the Caribbean. This happened while signaling tax and trade deals in several Caribbean countries. Is this to seize the region out of the West's sphere of influence and bring it under the sway of Beijing? China's investments in the Caribbean in the most recent years focused on tourism, transportation, extractive metals, agriculture, infrastructure, the development of trade relationships, telecommunication, and energy sectors. China is a member of the Inter-American Development Bank (IDB) and the Caribbean Development Bank (CDB). Its engagement in the Caribbean countries includes a strong slice of the Belt and Road Initiative (BRI), formerly known as One Belt, One Road or OBOR for short, which is a global infrastructure development strategy adopted by the Chinese government in 2013 to invest in more than 150 countries and international organizations. As of 2022, 10 Caribbean countries have signed up for Belt and Road (BRI): Cuba, Jamaica, Dominican Republic, Antigua and Barbuda, Dominica, Barbados, Grenada, Trinidad and Tobago, Guyana, and Suriname, while St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, St. Kitts and Nevis, Haiti, and Belize remain the only Caribbean nations that recognize Taiwan. The Popular Republic of China is working towards diminishing the region's ties with this country. The economic investments of China in the Caribbean mainly focus on 6 major countries, which have received huge investments in the past 2 decades. Bahamas with $350 million, Cuba with $750 million, Antigua and Barbuda with $1 billion, Trinidad and Tobago with $2.28 billion, Guyana with $3.01 billion, and Jamaica with $3.16 billion. Clearly, over $10 billion were invested in this region between 2005 and 2022 with a major focus on tourism, transportation, extractive metals, energy, and agriculture. By the way, if you're getting value from this video, we would greatly appreciate it if you would give this video a like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell for our future videos. Thank you. To give a few examples, China's investment in infrastructures includes Hutchinson Port Holdings in the Bahamas, China Merchant Port Holdings ownership of the Port of Kingston, Jamaica, the current construction of a port in La Brea to facilitate gas exports from Trinidad and Tobago, the construction of a bridge over the Demerara River in Guyana, and several highway projects, as well as the construction of an industrial park in Jamaica. As far as the energy sector goes, a subsidiary of Chinese national oil company CNPC, Great Wall Drilling, began drilling oil off the coast of Cuba in 2019. In 2017, Jamaica's Alpart Alumina Refinery was purchased by Zhuquan Iron and Steel Company, and in 2011, China acquired a 10% interest in Trinidad and Tobago-based Atlantic LNG, one of the world's largest natural gas producers. At the same time, the government of China published 2 papers, one in 2008 and the second in 2016, named China's Policy Paper on Latin America and the Caribbean, outlining the country's policy for the region and highlighting the common goal of strengthening cooperation through equality and mutual benefits in several key areas. The China Caribbean Press Center was established in 2018 and the country has dedicated a significant level of attention to Caribbean security engagement, actively carrying out military exchanges and cooperation with countries in Latin America and the Caribbean. Military and police equipment are frequently donated by China, especially to Cuba, Trinidad and Tobago, and Guyana. The Confucius Institute, a non-profit organization aiming to promote the Chinese language and culture, support Chinese teaching internationally, and facilitate cultural exchanges, established schools in Cuba, Jamaica, Guyana, the Bahamas, Suriname, Trinidad and Tobago, Antigua and Barbuda, Grenada, and Barbados. What is the explanation for all of these investments, keen interest, and donations to our Caribbean region? Trade has become an increasingly important part of China's economy, and it has been seen as a significant tool for economic modernization. According to World Bank data for 2020 and 2021, China's trade surplus for both goods and services is constantly growing, as well as the country's overall trade balance. Locally, China gains uncountable benefits from these investments. An interesting example is the North-South Highway in Jamaica. Started in 1999 by a French contractor who had to be interrupted due to financial difficulties. The project was taken over by Chinese contractors in 2009. Peculiar agreements were made between the Chinese and the Jamaican governments, and the project was assigned to CHEC, China Harbour Engineering Company Limited, while China Development Bank loaned $700 million for its completion. To repay the loan, Jamaica transferred 500 hectares of land adjacent to the highway. This includes coastal areas on which CHEC has agreed to build hotels, which will boost Jamaica's economy and create revenue for China. Jamaica's total debt to China is this way extremely low, and the local labor force has been employed in Chinese projects throughout the Caribbean. It's basically seen as a win-win. What are the reactions of the Caribbean people toward these Chinese investments? The reactions are mixed. A good part of the population understands the need for the money and resources, which would not be readily available if we hadn't obtained the help of such economically powerful country. The majority of business-minded people in the Caribbean, including business owners, investors, and the government, clearly see that the bigger picture is bright and that all these investments will serve our countries for the future, and not just in the immediate present. Once loans are repaid and debts are cleared, countries such as Jamaica, the Bahamas, and Guyana are left with enormous projects that boost our economy, provide job opportunities to our people, and generate income. On the other hand, a negative attitude towards China and its people is not so uncommon amongst Caribbean people. Some people are suspicious because of China's concerning environmental record and involvement in the COVID-19 pandemic. Others are worried that, while it's good to build and invest in our countries, China brings a lot of workers from their country and does not provide high-quality jobs to locals. Circling back to the example of Jamaica's North-South Highway, there have been records of several hostilities towards this project from the Jamaican people. It boosts the economy, provides a faster and safer way of moving around, and makes it possible to trade and commute in a reliable and more convenient way. It also blocked out towns and communities which used to thrive around the areas now occupied by the highway, which are slowly dying because they are now impossible to reach. The port they planned to build around the coastal area was in a protected area, and which took a lot of pushback for the government to agree that it should not break the law and impact the environment. Barbados, which recently renounced the Queen and took some financing from China, was immediately accused of being a communist country, generating a bit of drama in the region. Generally speaking, countries such as Jamaica have a bit of a negative attitude towards Asian populations, and this became very clear in the last decades, with the number of Chinese people growing exponentially in the country as a direct or indirect result of all these investments from the Chinese government. It is not a feeling just confined to the Caribbean, however. China operates an authoritarian government with values that are quite far from liberal democracies. Concerns around their funding and investments are quite natural and shared on a global scale. China has been accused of setting debt and data traps across the world by the head of MI6, Richard Moore. But the evidence is very poor and quite foggy. The anti-China rhetoric that has been propagating from the West in the past years loses terrain when we see that not all projects coming from China are so bad or negatively affect our Caribbean countries. On the other hand, it is believed that it is not too late for the United States of America to arrest the deepening China-Caribbean engagement that is so feared on a local and global scale alike, and that could result in policies admittedly going against the Western world's strategies and interests. The USA have devoted very little time and money to the Caribbean region, and therefore a radical change will become necessary if they want to step into the game. Check out this video on top 10 most developed Caribbean countries and territories. Please, let us know what you think of the China-Caribbean relationship and the huge investments China is making in the Caribbean region. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell for our next video. This is Gyro Caribbean.